Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to my first stream that's directly targeted for different parts of the world. I hope that this stream time is a little bit more friendly to the Asia region. I've heard your feedback and I have tried to, well, I guess I'm running an experiment really. This is all just an experiment to see if there is an audience at this hour. I usually stream at 1500 GMT, which is 8 a.m. my time. I live on the west coast of the United States. I picked that time because I thought that would be friendly to a lot of regions, but I realize that it's a little bit late on the for most Asian countries. For me, it's my morning, but I think in Asia, in most parts of Asia, it's nearing midnight or even past midnight in some parts. So now this is my evening, and this should be Friday morning for most of you in Asia. It's my Thursday evening, so I assume it's your Friday morning. And I thought I'd just come on and see if there's an audience at this hour. So, if this works out, maybe I'll do more at this hour. Who knows? But really glad to be able to spend some time with you. I already see a couple of people on Instagram, and maybe we'll also get some viewers on YouTube. But yeah, it looks like we are getting some viewers on YouTube. So as you can see, over on my shoulder here, the chat is gonna go ahead and display. So I'm getting some messages already from YouTube and on Instagram. So good to see you guys. So, as you know, we usually start off with our global roll call. And that is where I invite you to participate by just letting me know what city, state, province, country you're from. Personally, I like traveling a lot, so it's nice for me to see where all the people are in the world. I find that exciting. I've been fortunate to be able to visit many parts of the world. And also, I do it just to kind of keep the chats inclusive. I know that there are people with varying skills and abilities in data science, so I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be some amazing data scientist or ask some amazing question in order to be able to participate. So I invite you to just tell me where you're from and just kind of kick off the conversation. If you want to share anything else about where you are in your data science journey, or if you have questions, I'm always here to answer questions. We always get a lot of questions during my regular streams. So happy to share what I've experienced in my career, in my life. I've been in the technology field for about 20 years, or 20 plus years. I'm an old man. And yeah, I've been a chief data scientist for a big part of that. Have led many teams, have read thousands of resumes, done hundreds of interviews, and led dozens of people. So happy to be here with you guys. If you have questions, let me know. Please introduce yourself. Let me know where you're from. I love the chat system here because I'm able to highlight different chats as they come in. So to kick us off, the Gambling Man is letting us know he's from Singapore. Well, good to see you. Good to see you, Gambling Man. I guess gambling is a pretty good extension for a data scientist, right? Lots of probabilities and statistics involved. So good to see you. Thank you for spending some time with me. I appreciate you being here. Fares Cowdrey, a previous supporter of the stream. So glad to see you here, my friend. I hope that this stream time is a little bit more friendly to your time zone. So give me some feedback on that. The Gambling Man says, yes, it's Friday morning. Okay, good. That was exactly the intent for choosing this time. Again, for me, it's my evening. I just got back from walking the dog and, we're kind of wrapping up my day. I usually have dinner and then I feed my dog, and then a few minutes after that, we go walking. So walked him a little bit, came back, decided to start the stream. So the Gambling Man says, yes, indeed, for the gambling side. Well, good for you. Now, I didn't think that there was any legalized gambling in Singapore, at least not for residents, right? I mean, I think that there's, is it one of the Sands casinos that's out there? But I don't think residents are allowed, right? If you know something about that, Gambling Man, let me know. I happen to know a little bit about that because I have worked for gaming industries or gaming companies in the past. I've worked for Caesars Entertainment. I worked for them for a few years. I was mostly involved in their online gaming deployments here in the United States. And obviously, I keep up with that world, so I know that Venetian Sands has a big presence in Asia, but I don't think Singapore has casinos for locals. But let me know about that. The Gambling Man says, I used to be in your Instagram. Yeah, well, great. I love having followers on Instagram. I'm also building a larger presence on YouTube. So yeah, you're welcome to see me on either one of those platforms. Earlier today, I ran a video on writing a resume for data science. And that format, on YouTube is a little better, right? The widescreen format, whereas on Instagram, the vertical format isn't always great for when I'm sharing my screen, because I have different views, different scenes that I use here. So sometimes if I'm going to teach something, it is better to watch me on YouTube where it's a little bit of a wider screen. But thanks for being here. And if you want to follow me on both platforms, please do that. On YouTube, I schedule some of my sessions ahead of time so you can kind of see what I have coming up. And you can also click the notify button to remind you when the live stream starts. That's going to be especially important in August, because in August I have some really great content coming up. I cannot tell everyone how excited I am about that. What I've done is I've reached out to my colleagues, and I've asked them to come on live streams to record content with me. We're going to be doing some great collaborations. I don't think I have anyone lower than a director joining us. I have nothing but managing directors and directors coming on, and some are going to be recorded, some are going to be live streams, and you can ask them anything. So I've got banking executives, I've got audit executives, data science executives, wealth management executives. So they're going to come join me. They're going to come spend some time with us. So it's going to be really great. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification there on YouTube. Suresh says, hi, I'm from Bangalore, India. Well, good to see you. Bangalore is obviously one of the tech centers of India. I've had staff in Bangalore before, a couple of people that work for me in Bangalore. So good to see you here. Thanks for coming out. Let's see. Gambling Man says, we have MBS, but we have to pay an entrance fee. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, but I thought it was completely off limits. Or maybe I'm thinking about Japan. I think Japan makes it completely off limits to their citizens. But good to see that there is gaming alive and well in Singapore. I Am Rand says, I'm from Cali, same time zone as you. I wake up really late though, so I usually don't join even if I want. Okay. Well, I think that speaks to the priorities of where data science is in your life, and that's okay. But I'm glad you're able to join us. And yeah, to your point, this is still a reasonable time for most of the U.S. On the west coast of the U.S. right now, it's still 9 o'clock at night. Still a little bit on the earlier side. So that's why I'm experimenting with this time in particular. It's 6 p.m. for me, 9 p.m. for people like in New York. So still a reasonable time. After that, it's maybe a little too late for Western Europe. I don't expect that we'd get a lot of people from Western Europe, from London or whatnot, joining us. Most of those people join when I stream in the mornings. But yeah, thank you for that feedback, I Am Rand. Maybe it is. Maybe I am missing some people who it's too early in the U.S. Yes, the Gambling Man. Yeah, you caught me. I am collecting data about my own stream. Yes, that's absolutely. Look, this is the data scientist mind at work, right? And by the way, this reminds me. I do also have a promo here for my book. I just had it published this week. I actually just found out that I'm #1 in new releases for data mining books, which I'm really proud of. But yeah, I have an entire section on the data scientist mindset, Gambling Man. And this is exactly part of it, where, ultimately data science is a process, right? It's not an algorithm, it's not a result, it's the process that you're following, the methodology that you're following. And part of that is experimentation, right? Collecting data and running experiments. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That is my intent of trying this. Personally, I'm not a night person, I'm more of a morning person. So it's not my preference to stream at this time, but you got to try it. You got to experiment. I don't know if I have a big audience in Asia. My analytics say that there are some followers in Asia. Some people have given me the feedback in the morning streams that it's a little too late for them in Asia. So let's try it. Let's experiment. Let's see what happens, right? This is the data scientist mindset at work. So yeah, Gambling Man, you caught me. This is exactly what I'm doing. I'm collecting data, and If there's a great turnout, if there's a lot of support in the Asia region, then maybe I was thinking of maybe doing like an alternating schedule. Some days I'll stream, at 1500 GMT. Other times I'll stream at this time. Kind of alternate days or whatnot. Just kind of see how it goes, right? So yeah, you're absolutely right. This is me running my own experiments, collecting my own data. Jeremiah, Jeremiah, I think you're also in Singapore, if I remember right? But Jeremiah is somebody who gave me the feedback during the earlier streams, saying, hey, this is really late for me in Singapore. So that was something I heard from a couple of people. So let's try it. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm experimenting. Like I said, I don't expect that we're going to get a lot of Western Europe. This is not a great time for Western Europe, but there's more parts of the world, and I'm smart enough to realize that it's a big world out there. So I want to go ahead and try a different time zone and see what happens. But good to see you here, Jeremiah. I hope you're well. Yeah, so Jeremiah says, yes, I'm from Singapore too. So that means we have 2 watchers from Singapore. So maybe we'll call this the Singapore stream. I don't know. But I know this is a good time for Singapore. It's a good time for Tokyo. It's still actually, I think, a pretty good time for India. I think it's a little bit early on the India side. But yeah, Indonesia, I get a lot of followers from Indonesia. So I think this is also a reasonable time for Indonesia. Maybe a little bit early from Indonesia also. But glad to see that all of you are here and there's support here for the Asian time zone. Joseph Hernandez. Hey, Dennis, let's do it. Joseph, you're a great supporter of the stream. So good to see you, my friend. I hope you're well. Joseph, remind me where you're from. I can't remember the region that you're from, Joseph. And speaking of which, Joseph, you're reminding me that Joseph is also one of our followers on Discord. So let me bring that up here. So this is our Discord. And we are having some really good conversations. I also post little articles and videos that I find interesting, and you're also welcome to do the same. But if you haven't joined our Discord, feel free to join that. That's also going to provide you with a way to ask questions, not just of me, but of the community. I love when the community helps each other. So people are posting the projects they're working on or questions that they have. Or, hey, can you check out my portfolio? I love that community collaboration, and Discord is a really good way to do it. We already have 42 people joining us on Discord, which I got to tell you is a lot more than I thought were interested in it. I'm really not a huge Discord user, but I did learn how to use it. I set up my own server, my own permissions and things like that. And honestly, I got to tell you guys, I'm a little embarrassed, because I had it available for a while. I had it completely up and running. I just didn't tell anybody. I didn't advertise. I didn't send in any of the invite links or anything. But I had it available for a while. But I just didn't think anybody would be interested. But it looks like people are interested, and people are joining and contributing to discussion. So if that interests you, and you're able to do, you kind of want to have like asynchronous communication with people, this is a really good way to do it. It's totally free. I do have the paid option, but I'm not really promoting that yet. But it's totally free. You guys can, join in, get help from the community. Just a way for us to help each other, right? So if Discord interests you, the link is in my Instagram. It's one of my stories, and it's also in the socials highlight that you can find on my Instagram. But the invite is there, and you're welcome to join us on Discord. And again, I say that because Joseph is a participant on there, so want to give him a shout out. But we're having some really good conversations on there. So Joseph also says, let me switch back. Joseph also says, I'm from U.S. Tennessee. Oh, okay, there's other people from Tennessee also. What's in the water in Tennessee that's producing so many data scientists? That's funny. But yeah, we have a couple people from Tennessee. So welcome, Joseph. Good to see you. Okay. Let me go back here. I want to make sure I get to as many chat messages as I can. I'm curious. I find staring at data boring. How do you enjoy data science? Okay, you know what? That's a good question for the chat. If anybody in the chat wants to contribute to that. Is data science boring? Maybe. Not all aspects of it are fantastic, right? But the looking at the data side is really only a small portion of it, right? When you start getting into the modeling side of it, you're definitely doing more coding, and you're also using more creativity. And you're also using more of the scientific mind to say, Okay, yeah, I tried this approach to the data and it went great, or maybe it didn't go so well. How do I fix that, right? And then to me, my favorite part is when you find a good model, you're at a result stage, so you're getting some results back, but then what does it mean? Like you need to make that mean something for your stakeholders, for the business that you're serving, right? So for me, that's the fun part, kind of what we would call a results interpretation, right? Because you're not going to take a bunch of math and confusion matrices and things like that to the business. That's a terrible strategy, right? I've seen teams do that, and yeah, it's weird, right? You got to take those results and you got to make it mean something for the business, like in plain English, right? So for me, that's the fun part of data science. But I realize that there's a lot of other parts you also have to be good at, right? So yes, part of your work is staring at data, but that's not all the work, right? There's a lot more to it. So I hope you would see it that way. But look, let me get some feedback from the chat. So guys, let me know. Is data science boring? Is Gambling Man right? Or how do you get over that boredom? Go ahead and share some of that in the chat, okay? Yeah, so if you're just joining us on Instagram, I'm seeing people join in. Let us know the city, state, province that you're from. I like to do that to include everybody, to kind of, keep everything dynamic. Maybe you'll meet people from your country, from your school or whatever. We already saw that we have multiple people from Singapore here. So glad to see all of you joining. I'm trying a new time here to see how different things are happening. Gambling Man says, I'll join tonight. Yeah, for you, it'll be late at night, but at 1500 GMT is my normal streaming time. But let's mix it up. Let's try some for Asia or for other parts of the world, because I know this is convenient for other parts, including Asia. Let me give a quick shout out down here to Daniel Ramones. Hi from Mexico, Dennis. Daniel, nice to see you. I know you participate in a lot of the streams, and I think you were also in the class this past Sunday. So good to see you, my friend. Daniel says, how to best decide whether a data science focused solution is the most appropriate for a business problem? Oh, wow. I love the question. Daniel, let me come back to that, because I see a couple other people that are checking in. So Meta from Illinois, USA. Welcome. Yeah, Meta, I'm glad to see you here. This is definitely a convenient time for Illinois. I think in Illinois right now it's just after 8 o'clock. So yeah, we're trying a different time. And glad to see that you're here. Glad to see that I'm getting some of the U.S. audience, because for the U.S. it is a convenient time. Gabo Try says they're from Mexico City. Well, welcome. I'm getting an increasing set of followers from Mexico City, so glad to see that you're here. I think this is also a great time for Mexico City. Okay, so coming back to Daniel. Daniel, I love the question. How to best decide whether a data science focused solution is the most appropriate for a business problem? Great question, Daniel. And I think that you're really hitting upon one of the things that I stress a lot with my teams and also with my corporate clients. This is the kind of advice that I give to my corporate clients. So two things really come to mind. One, you do have to have the ability and kind of almost like the academic ability to recognize when you have a data science problem or not. Okay? Because here's the challenge. If you go to 10 of your business stakeholders, right, the people that you're ultimately serving, if you go to 10 of them and say, hey, what's machine learning? What's data science to you? You're going to get 10 completely different answers, right? Even as advanced as some of these algorithms are, and most people know what ChatGPT is and things like that, people still don't have a consensus of what that means. You're going to get completely different answers. So what that means is that you're going to have a lot of instances where people come to you and say, hey, I got this great data science problem for you that I want you to write me something. I want you to write me a neural network for it, right? But you start looking at it and it's like, that's not a data science problem. The person has good intents, right? But they're probably like, just overly excited, or they're repeating things that they heard on the news or things like that, right? And you kind of get into it and you realize, like, wait a minute, this is really just like advanced statistics or an advanced analytics problem. It's not really data science. That's going to happen a lot in your career. It's happened a lot to me. I see it happening constantly. And again, the people that bring you the ideas, they're not wrong. They're well intended. They just don't know any better, right? So Daniel, that's the first thing I would tell you, right? You have to have the ability to kind of understand their problem and say, That's not really an algorithmic problem. You just need some help with some advanced statistics, right? And you can help them, your team can still do that, but you have to be able to say, that's a data science problem, that's not a data science problem, right? You kind of play traffic cop in that way, right? And then the second thing I would also tell you, Daniel, is that again, this is more what I tell my corporate clients, is that there's also you have to do some return on investment calculations, some ROI calculations. And the reason I say that is because algorithms take a long time to develop. They can be very processor intensive, which means that you'll be spending some resources to develop it, especially if you use a cloud provider. And third, algorithms tend to live for a long time. They have to be maintained, right? You can have performance degradation from an algorithm. So there's a cost associated with that, right? Your team has to be you have to dedicate resources from your team to say, this is what we're developing new, and then this is what we're going to maintain, because those algorithms require quite a bit of maintenance, right? So that kind of calculation is very important. There's a lot of really good algorithmic ideas out there that may not meet the return on investment that you need, right? So as an example, you can come up with a great algorithm for fraud detection, right? Let's say you're working for a company that has its own credit card, right? Like a charge card, and you've developed an algorithm that can detect fraudulent charges really, really well, right? You've got really good metrics on that algorithm. Well, that's great. But what happens if, one, there's not enough fraudulent charges because, you have generally good clients, and two, the average loss on a fraudulent charge is not very high. Maybe you work for a company where the average purchase price is pretty low. Well, so that might mean that you have the world's greatest algorithm for fraud detection, but the results from it, the impact from it isn't high enough to justify, putting you on it, maintaining the algorithm, paying for the GPU cycle, so on and so forth. That's a very likely scenario. That can happen in data science, right? I shouldn't say likely scenario. It's a possible scenario, right? That can happen in data science. Algorithms take time and money to develop and maintain, right? So Daniel, that's what I would tell you. I know I gave you a little bit of a long answer there, but those are the different types of things that I consider when one of my clients asks me a question like that, because there's a lot to it. So thanks for the question, Daniel. Really good question. All right, let me go back here because I think I missed some questions. Rufus, good to see you. Rufus, are you one of our participants on Discord? I'm looking at my Discord list. I think you are, aren't you? Yeah, I see you in my Discord. So welcome to the stream. I'm glad to see you're such a big supporter. Thank you so much. Hello, Dennis. I'm a sophomore in high school and I have strong interest in data science. In data science. I'm reaching out to you for some advice on how to advance my career in this field. So Rufus, if you go to the Discord, I posted my data science roadmap for students. It's a video that I developed as a roadmap where I took how I got into data science and I updated it for 2024, right? Because I'm an old guy, so I went through my studies a while ago. So but some of those things still apply. So I went through that, and I even issue a coding challenge from this book, because this book to me is how you start a professional data science career. Right? Let me bring it on this side. All right? This is as far as you can get from YouTube tutorials and Coursera courses, all that stuff. This is where a professional career in data science begins. And I'm actually teaching a course on this every Sunday. So if you want to join us on Sundays, please do so, or you can watch the replays on my YouTube channel. But check out that video, Rufus. Data science roadmap for students. It's one of the first videos I made. It's 20 minutes long. I have a coding challenge. I basically tell you what I would recommend for somebody starting out, and it's aimed at someone exactly like you. I aim it at students, or maybe you're an early career professional, 1 to 2 years in the field, and maybe you started in software engineering, but you kind of wanted to do something else. I go ahead and I address all of that in that video. So check out that video, Rufus. If you have any questions, go ahead and post it in our Discord. I know that you're a big follower there, a big participant there. So, we can help you along there. The community can help each other. But that's what I would recommend for you, Rufus. I love the fact that you're thinking ahead in your career. A lot of people your age don't do that. So good for you. Keep on coming back and keep on learning. Yeah, this sounds great, Rufus. Currently, I have experience in Python and SQL. I have completed a few boot camps, read some books on data science, and taken some online courses to build my foundation. That's great, Rufus. That's great. I work a lot with PyTorch and scikit-learn and lots of other AI tools in Python. Any general advice would be fine. Yeah, so it sounds like you have a good foundation. Start coming to the Sunday courses, or you're welcome to attempt this book on your own also. But I think this makes sense for you to kind of take that next step. And by the way, if don't let your personal resources hold you back on this book. If you go to the author's website, statlearning.com, they make PDFs freely available. They're free to download. You don't even have to give your email address. Anybody can download them. But again, this book is a good step for somebody like you who's already done the courses and kind of want to take a little bit more of a professional step. All right. So Jeremiah says, sounds like you're on the right track so far, Rufus. Yeah, I agree, Rufus. I agree, Jeremiah. I think, Rufus, I think Jeremiah is giving you good consensus there, because it does sound like you're on the right track. Gabo Try says, analyzing and finding usable insights is fun. Also visualizations. Yeah, Gabo, I think you're referring to the previous statement by the gambling man about data science being boring. But yeah. Definitely, data visualizations is definitely fun, and really, to me, you're highlighting some of the variety of what a data scientist does, right? And that's what I find fun too. There's so much to a single data science project, right? There's like some very distinct phases, like some distinct methodology, right? So that's one of the things I cover in my book, where I introduce a methodology for all of those steps. Because that's not really something you're always going to be taught in school, right? So that's why I emphasize that in my book, in kind of understanding how many different facets there are to a data science project. Gabo asked name of the book. So this book here, okay, that should be clear there. It's called An Introduction to Statistical Learning. You're going to find it on Amazon. The website is statlearning.com. That's the author's website. And if you want, Gabo, start coming on Sundays. On Sundays, I'm running a class where we are doing this book, but I don't want to copy the authors. That's intellectually dishonest. I want to build upon their work. So what I'm doing to build upon their work is we are doing this book with Gen AI tools. We are not writing the code. ChatGPT is writing the code. So we had our first session this last Sunday. Got a great turnout. Really, really happy with how that went. And I'm going to be doing it every Sunday. We're going to be doing one chapter every Sunday. So feel free to come to those, or you can go to my YouTube channel and you can check out the replays there. So the session we just did last Sunday is already posted. So my YouTube channel is Data Science with Dennis, and you can view it there. Or for another book recommendation, you can look up Your First Year in Data Science. That's my book. I just had it published this week. I went, let me show you guys something. I went to a lot of trouble to make sure that I was going to put out a quality product. So the book is ready for purchase now, but in the process, I developed these. These are called author proofs. You can see that there's a special label across the front here, which means that this is not for sale. These are different author proofs that I did to make sure that I was using a quality paper and good graphics. I have color graphics inside the book. So I really went through a lot of trouble to make sure I was putting a good product, because if it's going to have my name on it, I wanted to be a quality product. It's available in all three formats. I've tried to make the ebook version, the Kindle version, affordable for most regions of the world. If not, give me some feedback on that, but I think I produced something that's affordable. So you're also welcome to check that out and, see if it helps you also make a transition into data science. All right, let me get back to the chat here. And by the way, if you're still just joining us on Instagram, welcome. Feel free to tell us the city, state, province, country that you're from. Love to hear that, because I love hearing how there's many followers around the world. It's good for all of us to see the global focus that data science has right now. And also, like I said, I don't want anybody to feel like they can only ask questions if it's a great technical question or anything. Just introduce yourself. Everybody can participate. So Murad says, coming from Afghanistan, Kabul, Afghanistan. Wow, welcome. I think we get a couple of viewers from Afghanistan and Pakistan and in that part of the world. So welcome. Murad, let me know what time it is for you. I think it's a pretty good time in the morning for you. Give me some feedback on this particular time, because I want to know more about, kind of finding a good time to capture this part of the world. I think this is a good time, and it's a good time for me. It's still kind of, early evening for me. But give me some feedback on what time it is in Afghanistan and if this is a good time for that region. Okay, so Meta asks how to consider regulations when implementing a model into workflow. For instance, in auto insurance, the model should not discriminate results based on the gender. Wow, that is a tough question. That is a tough question, Meta, because there are so many different regulations that this applies to. I mean, you're highlighting a very good example. There's also other examples around credit worthiness, whether you give somebody credit or not. Lots of reasons why you want to consider regulations. Really, the way most people translate the regulation side of this, Meta, is having a model or an approach that's interpretable versus not interpretable, right? Because not every model has good interpretability factors to it, right? Some models just give you an answer and they can't tell you why. And there's many regulation-driven reasons why you can't use that model. Like, coming back to credit worthiness, there are instances where, many countries have laws that say you can't deny somebody credit without telling them why. You can't just say yes or no. You have to tell them why. So that's a scenario where models with low interpretability are not going to be something that you can explore. Like you literally can't use them, right? So that's really kind of what I would advise you to explore, Meta, or to think about a little bit more. It's more about choosing the models with interpretability versus not interpretability, right? After that, a lot of it is kind of based on the data that you're going to have available, right? Because, again, thinking about the conversations I have with my corporate clients, the trick to a lot of these algorithms that you're going to develop is that ultimately the algorithm is a reflection of you, right? It's a reflection of your training data. So Meta, in the example you're giving about not discriminating results based on gender, if you find that a model, like let's say you're developing a new model, if you find that a model is doing that or is kind of skewed in that way, well, that kind of means your training data is skewed in that way, right? I mean, the model didn't just make up data. The model is assessing the data you're feeding it and giving you an algorithmic answer for future predictions based on what's happened, right? So, you kind of get into a tricky situation where you you want to make sure your algorithm is not biased, but if that bias is already built into the training data, then that's what your company has done, right? It's a reflection of what that training data shows, right? So great question, Meta. I love that you're thinking ahead, and I love how this shows that our community has everything from beginners to people that are more advanced. Clearly you sound a little bit more advanced. So I love that about your question. But those are the couple of things that I would kind of ask you to think about and reflect upon, because I think that's kind of the your answer lies in there somewhere, right? And it's up to you in your own processes and your own conversations with the business to figure out where you want to go with that as far as preventing that types of bias in the algorithms. Okay, but thanks for the question. Really great question. Okay, so Rufus confirms, yes, I'm there. Thank you. Yeah, look, Rufus, you're and by the way, he's referring to yes, I'm there to being in our Discord. If you're joining late, haven't seen our Discord, we already have 40 plus people in there. So please feel free to join. Help the community, help each other, right? But yeah, Rufus, look, if you've already, first of all, you're a young guy, you're thinking ahead. That's great. You're already ahead of your peers. Two, it sounds like you've already taken some courses online. You're kind of doing what you can with what you have, right? And that's fantastic. And three, you're here. You're here. You're learning. So keep on coming back. Keep on participating in Discord. Come to the classes on Sunday to get a feel for how I run them and how I talk about these professional algorithms. But you're on the right track, my friend. Just keep going. Okay, just keep going. Alma Canoe says they are from Sierra Leone. Welcome. Good to see you. I get a lot of followers from Africa, from the African continent in general. But they mostly come to my earlier stream because I think that's a really good time for Africa. Isn't it a little bit late in Africa right now? It seems to me that this is really late for you, Almas. Let me know how this particular time slot fits into your time zone in Sierra Leone. But it strikes me as kind of late for most of Africa, isn't it? I mean, yeah, because I've done enough travel to know that it's pretty late right now, like in Morocco, for example. So let me know how this time fits for you in Sierra Leone. I'm curious about that, so thank you. Sanku Diaries says, what is your favorite ML algorithm that you often use? Hey, Sanku, you know what? This is a great question for the chat. So if you're in the chat, please reply to Sanku, and let me know in the chat, what is your favorite ML algorithm? Let me know, okay? I want to see some replies. I'm seeing people in both Instagram and on YouTube, so let's get some chat participation. What is your favorite algorithm? So Sanku, if I don't come back to this, let me know, because I really want to give you an answer on this. I don't want to bias the chat though, right? Okay, so we already have a reply. Geez, you guys are quick. I love it. Rufus says random forest. Okay, great. So Rufus is our first participant. Who else wants to participate? What is your favorite machine learning algorithm? Sanku Diaries has provided our first chat question of the day. Oh, let me switch chats here so you guys can see it. So Sanku is asking the chat, what is your favorite ML algorithm that you often use? Okay. I don't want to bias the chat. I'll give you my answer in a few minutes, but chat, go to it. What is your favorite algorithm? Please participate. Yeah, Sanku says, okay, rule-based algorithms. Okay, so Sanku and Rufus have landed on random forest and rule-based algorithms. Anybody else? Anybody else want to participate? I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to think about that one, okay? And I'm going to give you my answer later. I love the question, Sanku. Nareke says, hola Nareke. Nare, I haven't seen you in the chats before, so for everybody joining us for the first time, we do a global roll call where let us know your city, state, province that you're joining us from. It helps me to understand where people are coming in from the world. I love seeing it because I love traveling. But let me know where you're from. And yeah, welcome. Glad to see you on YouTube. I love seeing, tonight we have a really good balance of YouTube and Instagram. Over here, I love how the chat shows where you guys, like what platform you guys are on. So yeah, welcome. Glad to see you here. Meta says, thank you for your answer. Love the way you explain it. Yeah, Meta, I think you're asking a really important question. As data scientists, we should all be concerned about regulations and what the business needs, right? So yeah, thank you for your feedback on that. Jeremiah is participating in our chat question. There's quite a lot to choose. You're right about that, Jeremiah. Lots of algorithms out there. So chat, that's the question of the night, or question of my night, because it's night for me, maybe not for you guys. Sanku has asked us, what is your favorite ML algorithm that you often use? So please give me some answers in the chat. Mason Peace, welcome. Hello from Rochester, New York. Wonderful, good to see you. Yeah, and I think that this is still a pretty reasonable time for New York and for most parts of the U.S. So I'm really glad to see I'm getting some U.S. participation. I still get a lot of U.S. participation in the mornings and during the previous chat. But yeah, glad to see you here. I actually just moved back from New York City. I was in New York City for 2 years, and then I moved back here in March. So right now I'm on the west coast of the United States. But yeah, I just moved back from New York, and I know Rochester is a beautiful part of that state. New York has many beautiful parts to it. So glad to see that you're joining us. Glad it's not too late for you. So thanks for joining, Mason. Okay, so remember, guys, Sanku is asking, what is your favorite ML algorithm? So feel free to put in your answer in the chat. I love to see that participation. And while I still wait for a couple of people have given us answers, while I still wait for a couple more replies, I'm going to go to Meta here. Meta says, let's say the model is performing very well on test data. How does the team validate that it's actually satisfying the business requirements and metrics? How do they confirm that it is applicable? Okay, great question. And this comes back to our earlier discussion about interpreting results, right? Because when you're talking about that it performs well on test data, everything is looking good, your confusion matrix looks good, your F1 score looks good, whatever metric you're using, right? Now you got to take that and you got to translate it into the potential business impact. Because you don't want to show your business, your stakeholders, a confusion matrix. You don't want to show them any math or any code. That's not effective. But what you can do is you can kind of break it down to the bottom line and say, this is our algorithm. Based on the results it's giving us, we think that it's going to give you a 15% increase in sales over the next 2 years, right? That can be something that you're giving. And at that point, you're basically just reporting, right? You're not making decisions. You're reporting on what you think your algorithm is going to do in terms of business impact. And then from there, you're letting the business make that decision. Because along with saying, it's going to increase your sales, this is what it's going to cost you. This is your return on investment. This is how many people it's going to require from our team to maintain it. This is the ongoing support I need from you guys for that algorithm, right? I'm going to need you for human validation. I'm going to need you for new data. I'm going to need you to label that. Whatever it is that you need from them, this is the time to, kind of air that out, right? So really, Meta, that's the best way I can answer that for you. To say that you're going to take your metrics, you're going to translate it into business results, and then you present the business results, and then you let them make a decision based on that. Because ultimately, it's a tool for the business, not a tool for you guys. You guys are kind of like the conduit to create it, but the business is ultimately deciding what fits them best, right? So that's what I would advise you, Meta. That it's that key jump between we got a pretty good model on our hands, but then you got to translate that into business results. And then from there, just let them choose. It's a great question, man. I love the questions. Okay, Suresh is participating in our chat question, and he is volunteering Rotation Forest as his favorite ML model. All right, so we got random forest, rule-based algorithms. Jeremiah is still thinking. He says that there's a lot to choose, but Jeremiah didn't give us a model. And Sush is saying rotation forest. All right, a couple more questions. A couple more minutes for the answer. I'm going to go to Mason's question, and then we're going to talk about this question about the favorite algorithm. I'll give you my answer, okay? All right, so Mason asked us, do you find that R is relevant language for data scientists in the real world? It's all that's taught at my university. Yeah, and you know what? And I cover this in my book, Mason. You're asking a really good question. My book is exactly about this. How do you go from academia to real world data science? So thank you for the question. And what you're describing is very common. A lot of academic institutions teach R. When I did my graduate studies, that was also in R and SAS. So I would tell you that R is not relevant for most jobs that you're going to be applying for. Right? Most of us as data scientists, you're going to end up working in some sort of corporate enterprise, right? That's who's mostly hiring data scientists. Yes, you could end up in some sort of government position, maybe an academic position or a research, like a think tank type of position. In those three, you are more likely to use R, but not necessarily a requirement. And I say that because R has its roots in the scientific and academic communities, right? That's kind of where R came out of, right? Where R fails is R fails as an enterprise language to be able to do, distributed deployments with complex interfaces, deployments with a lot of scale to them. Arguably, R is not the fastest language you could choose for algorithmic deployments, right? If you're in an environment where your prediction cycles need to be like super fast, right? Like milliseconds fast, R is maybe not so great for that, right? Especially on a complex algorithm. So that's why Python, it really is kind of the language you should be gravitating towards over the long run, right? So yeah, so that's what I would tell you, where, do the R. Maybe you'll use it in the future, more likely you won't, but also start mixing in some Python. Start learning Python to help you with that, right? Because more likely than not, for most employment scenarios after school, after you're done with your studies, you're gonna need Python. And Python is great for those enterprise deployments, for the times when you need to have your own interface, where you need to do an API layer, all those things I cover in my book. But you're thinking ahead in a good way, where you want to go ahead and say, well, maybe I need to learn things beyond R. So you're on the right track there. Python should be your next step, Mason. Okay, so Jeremiah is volunteering his answer. And again, chat, our question by Senku is, what is your favorite ML algorithm that you often use? Not too late for you to give me an answer, but I'm about to give my answer as soon as I finish reading this to Jeremiah. So last call for answers. Jeremiah says, does deep learning algorithm count too? If yes, I'm going to pick CNN just because I learned it not long ago and I find it really interesting. But if not, I guess it's SVM. Okay. Jeremiah says, then again, I didn't go through machine learning algo. All right. Okay, so that's a good mix of answers that we've had. So thank you all for participating. So I'm seeing random forest, rule-based algorithms, rotation forest, and CNN deep learning algorithms, so CNN neural network, and SVM. Okay, so here's my answer for favorite machine learning algorithm. If you gave me an answer for your favorite machine learning algorithm, or maybe you didn't, maybe you're shy, but you still have a favorite machine learning algorithm. Wrong. Never, ever, ever, ever have a favorite machine learning algorithm. That's not a good practice. In fact, it's a form of what's known as researcher bias. Never, ever do that, guys. Having a favorite algorithm is exactly how you end up coming up with a bad algorithm for your clients. All right? You should always take an open view to what can solve the data problem that's in front of you. You should be taking in data. You should be going through a formal EDA process, and then you should be going through what's known as a champion model search, where you try a variety of algorithms. Oh, Jeremiah, yes, yes, it's a trick question. You got me. I was lying in wait, just waiting for you guys to give those answers. But yeah, wrong. You do not want to have a favorite machine learning. It's a form of researcher bias. Okay, take the time to do a favorite champion model. Take the time to do a proper champion model search and treat every piece of data as unique, and search a number of algorithms to look at what is actually the answer, what is the proper approach that you should be using. You should always have a baseline model, and then you should always be trying different models against that to be able to say, yes, this model works better, or no, this is terrible, let's exclude that model. But you should never be saying, oh, I like random forest, let me apply random forest to this. What if that's not the best model, right? So you're committing some really serious scientific faults there. One, it's researcher bias, and two, you're also opening yourself up to what's known as an error by omission. Because let's say you try a random forest and you get good results with it. Well, that means that you're not going to try other models that could be giving you better results for it, right? And you'll never know because you never even tried them. You looked at the random forest and said, yeah, that's good enough, right? Well, what if you could be doing it better, right? That's an error of omission, right? So, guys, remember, data science is a very serious scientific pursuit, right? It's a serious profession. So you can't allow yourself to have those types of biases. Another way that I see this is I'll be working with the team, again, because I have, corporate clients that I take on. I'll be working with the team, and I'll ask them, well, how did you determine that, this particular model was the right approach? And they'll answer, oh, well, because we had the code snippets from another project, so we just took those code snippets and put it onto this project. Terrible, right? That's a terrible approach. Just because you have the code snippets, or because you're comfortable with the code, or because you like working in the framework, maybe, you're really a big fan of PyTorch, which, by the way, you shouldn't be. PyTorch is for people that come from broken homes, by the way. But you can't just say, well, I had the code, so I'm going to just go use it over here, right? And that's terrible. You shouldn't do that, right? So be careful with that, okay? Be careful with having favorite ML algorithms. It's a terrible practice, and if you want to get started off on the right foot, you have to maintain an open mind to what models can work, okay? So yes, Jeremiah, you caught me. I was just waiting. I was just waiting for those answers to come in, right? Because you'll notice I asked many times for people to participate, right? So yes, I'm sorry, I did bait you guys, but it's an important lesson, because when I hear, as soon as I saw that question of a favorite ML algorithm, that's like a flashing red light, right? Like, that's like, whoa, wait a minute. You shouldn't even be thinking about that, right? There are no favorite algorithms, okay, guys? So thanks so much for participating in that, but I hope that that helps you guys. Yeah, Jeliaba, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name there, my friend. I absolutely love the baseline approach, and I've been using it for model comparison. Yeah, and you should. Why? Because it fits the scientific process, right? What does the scientific method tell you? Scientific methods tells you should have experiments. Well, you really can't have experiments unless you have something to compare against, right? And that's where that baseline comes in. And that's kind of why it's called the champion model search, because you can say, okay, here's my baseline. Oh, but this model did better. Well, now you can make that your new baseline, and then test other things against it and say, oh, this did even better. Okay, now that becomes my new champion. And you just keep going and going until you finally come upon that one kind of like king of the hill model that is better than the rest, right? So keep that in mind, right? You want to have an open mind to saying, well, maybe it could be random forest, maybe it could be a neural network, maybe it could be XGBoost, who knows? I don't know. I don't have a favorite. I'm open to this data working in a number of ways, and I'm going to try it, right? That is proper data science, okay, guys? So, but I love this discussion. Okay. Let me keep on going here. Well, actually, I'm going to come back to your question here, Sanku. Let me kind of close the loop here with the Jeliaba, because asking great questions. Also, one model is better by another by how much? What is the cost differential? And all the right questions to ask and answer. Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely on board with your thoughts there. We're on the same page. Yeah, incremental performance is definitely part of it. That's the champion model, right? What does better? And maybe some do worse. Okay, well, maybe we can put that one to the side. And you just keep going. That's exactly how you improve. An experiment builds upon other experiments, right? And then think about that. That makes great documentation. Because later on, if your algorithm makes a mistake, which it will, by the way, no algorithm is perfect, you can come back to that methodology and say, yes, we made a mistake, but we had a solid process behind it. We ran an appropriate number of experiments. We tested a good variety of models, right? You're going to want all of that, right? Because again, this is where proper professional data science is, right? Pete's is joining in from Twitch. I love the participation on Twitch. I have basically 0 followers on Twitch. I don't know why that platform just hasn't picked up, but we're already probably hitting diminishing returns. So foundation model matters less now. Pete's, let me know how you're referring, or what you're referring that to. Give me some context there, because I'm not 100% sure what you're mentioning there. So give me some background, please, okay? Let me make sure I keep on going back here, because I skipped over a couple different questions. So Data Science Info says, I am a recent data science graduate from RMIT University, completed my master's in data science. Wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Love seeing more participation on YouTube. Let us know what part of the world you're from. RMIT University, I'm not sure I recognize that, but let me know, okay? Suresh says, how do you deal with biased data? Difficult question to answer without knowing more of the rationale or situations behind it, right? Because some biased data we can fix, other biased data you can't, right? Depending on the nature of the data. So feel free to send me some more background on that, okay? Jeremiah says, the classic jab on PyTorch. You know what? I just throw those things in to stir the pot a little bit. I like Keras. Keras is my preferred framework for neural networks. I'm also a moderator on their mailing list. But yeah, that's just my preference because I just think Keras is easier to work with. But yeah, if you like PyTorch, I'm just messing with all of you guys. But you know, it's always fun to stir the pot a little bit, right? But yeah, but don't use PyTorch. Data Science Info says they are from Melbourne, Australia. It's the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology. Oh, fantastic! Thank you so much. Yeah, I was very fortunate to visit Australia. I spent Christmas in Australia a couple of years ago in 2022. I think I was there, something like that, and I had a really good time in Sydney. You know, the hotel there did something really cool for me. You know how like when you check into like a fancy hotel, like they'll always have like a little welcome snack, like, you know, they'll have like a small fruit basket in your room or like some nuts in your room and stuff like that. This hotel brought up an entire Christmas tree and put it in my room. Like I had like a really nice, really big suite, and after like 20 minutes after I checked in, they put an entire Christmas tree in my room. And I thought that was just the coolest thing because I was there in Sydney for like a week and a half or something like that. So it was a pretty long stay. So to make me feel at home, they brought an entire Christmas tree with lights and everything, and they put it in my room. And I just thought that was the coolest. I sat there every night with the lights on there, with the tree and everything, because I just had a really good time in Sydney. So thanks for visiting from Australia. I think this is also a really convenient time slot for Australia. Maybe a little, well, I guess it's like your mid-morning in Australia right now, or like lunchtime in Australia right now. But yeah, thanks for joining us. The Jiliaba says, thank you for picking me up. Yeah, you're welcome. You know, really glad to see all the participation, and you know, I love your thoughts on the baseline models, and this is good. You know, this is the community helping each other. So thank you so much for that. Okay. So Pete's is asking, or Pete's is clarifying on his previous question, just mean that the performance difference between the foundational models are getting smaller due to diminishing returns. Yeah, but there's a lot more models than just GPTs and Claude and LLMs and stuff, right? I mean, I'm referring to all kinds of other data science development, right? Look, guys, not all data science is LLMs and AI, and not even all data science is neural networks, right? You're going to be dealing with all kinds of different problems when you get into the business, right? And not every one of them is going to require a fancy solution. I mean, guess what? Regression methods still solve a lot of business problems, right? I mean, if you guys don't think that you're going to just go straight from school to working on some massive LLM. Not every business is ready for that. You're going to be still using a lot of like regression methods and XG boosting and you know, fairly small, fairly modest neural networks. That can solve a lot of business problems that you're going to be tasked with, right? So yeah, I mean, I guess there are some diminishing returns if you're only looking at LLMs, but for other stuff that you're going to be working on, there's going to be a million ways for you to still use the scientific approach and still be developing models in a very methodical way, right? So keep that in mind, Pete. You know, there's a lot more to the world of data science than you know, these big massive models that you hear about. Okay. Jeremiah says A+ service. So, well, I'm glad you're enjoying this stream, Jeremiah. It's good to see you here. Why does this stream have only 2 viewers? Asked by Diddler. Diddler, that is true on Twitch, but I push out on 5 different channels, or 5 different platforms. I push out on YouTube, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and Twitch. I don't push out on TikTok. I have a TikTok account, but I don't push out live on them. So the stream only has 2 viewers on Twitch, And to be frankly honest, on LinkedIn, I might have 0 viewers. On LinkedIn, I post it just because, to record it for the future. But on your particular platform on Twitch, you may only be seeing 2 viewers. But I have more on Instagram, I have more on YouTube, and that's why I have this chat over here. You can see in the chat, it has different icons from where people are joining. So yeah, it makes for a better stream that way when people are coming in from different platforms, and we can also see each other's chats when I highlight them. Or Diddler, if you're looking to participate more, I also have a Discord. We have more than 40 people on the Discord. You're welcome to join us there. You're welcome to post questions, and we can have asynchronous conversation with data scientists from all around the world. So feel free to participate there also. I am a mathematician and statistician. While interviewing, people tend to give, in my opinion, too much into coding, which is fair, but wouldn't you rather hire someone who understands the math? You know what? I say neither. I'm more into hiring somebody who knows the theory behind it. I don't care if you know the math. I think math is overrated in data science. And for the code, you're probably going to copy it from Stack Overflow anyways, and that's okay, right? I have no problems with you guys going to Stack Overflow, or nowadays I guess you're using ChatGPT more in order to pull the answer. So I care more about the theory. I care more that you would know what to go out and look for, rather than being heavy on the math or heavy on the coding, or really either one of those, right? So it's just different. It's just different approaches to hiring. But I can tell you that I've hired many people over the years, and that approach has never failed me. I always end up finding really good people, because I want you to know the theory more than the math and code, right? The code is a tool, the math is a tool, but how do you use it? How do you choose when and how to use those tools? That's, to me, is significantly more important. Data Science Info says it's 12:30 in Melbourne. Okay, that makes sense. That's about lunchtime in most of Australia. Because if I remember right, Melbourne is in the same time zone as Sydney. I hope I'm right on that. Yeah. But yeah, so thanks for being here. Data Science Info says, can you suggest any real-world data science project for portfolio to showcase in an interview and make a difference? Okay, so Data Science Info, I'll point you to my book over here, Your First Year in Data Science. It's available on Amazon. It's also available in Australia. I made it globally available. The ebook version is very affordable. Creativity is something that I talk about, because what you're asking is a question on creativity. And I get this question a lot, and I really don't give an answer for this. I don't help people with project ideas, because I don't want to deny you the opportunity for you to exercise your creativity and come up with your own project idea, right? Because if you went through a data science program, then you're a pretty smart guy, so you should be smart enough to be able to come up with your own project. So what I tell people is go out and read business journals, read stuff that interests you, and start thinking about the articles and stuff you read about in a data-oriented way. And sometimes you might come across data or a study. So go out and find the study. A lot of studies make their raw data available, so go out and get their raw data. And then what are the things that you can add to their study? What are some of the things that interest you about their study that maybe they didn't answer? Well, now if you have the raw data, you can go out and answer it. Or you can collect your own data, right? I'm a little further along in my career, and I have a different focus. So I run my own surveys. I pay people to go out and give me their data, right? Get their opinions on things. So, maybe you're not in a position to do that, but you can go out and start doing your own research, your own reading, your own creativity on coming up with your own projects. Okay, so that's what I always tell people. I don't get project ideas. Every once in a while, I'll post one to Instagram. Like I posted one last Friday, I think, where I saw an article that was perfect for a study. Like when I was doing this, when I was going through this process of building my skills, that is an article that I would 100% have written an article about. Done my own research, done my own study, and wrote an article about it. So the articles are out there. You just have to approach it with your creative mind as a data scientist and say, well, wait a minute, why did that happen? What were the factors that went into that happening? What is the probability of that happening? How can I model that? Right? You should be already going through these questions if you have a degree in data science, right? So take the time to do that, because again, I don't want to deny you the opportunity for you to be creative. Okay. Pete says, thanks for answering. Well, thank you for being here, Pete. Thank you for being one of 2 watchers on Twitch. Apparently, Diddler was complaining earlier. There's only 2 people, but I assure you there's more people on more platforms. You can clearly see the chat there. Rufus says, why is PyTorch bad, not preferable? Curious because I use PyTorch a lot. Rufus, nobody should take me seriously, okay? I'm just... I'm just sharing my views, and I'm ultimately just sharing my bias, right? I'm just biased against PyTorch. I prefer Keras. To me, the way Keras builds out the layers of the neural networks just makes a little bit more sense. Like, it just, like, to my brain, it makes more sense. The way, to me, PyTorch, it's a little funny whenever I look at the code. I think to myself, why would they build the network this way? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And like I said, full disclosure, I like Keras. I'm a moderator on their email list. I've contributed open source. I'm really not an open source guy. I've only done a couple contributions in my career, but Keras is one of them. I did make a contribution to them back in 2018, 2019. I wrote some code that I thought could benefit the framework because I use Keras a lot, like a ton. And at that time, I was using it like every day in a corporate environment. And I came across things that I needed, so I actually wrote the code, and it got pulled, and like my code is in the Keras framework. So that's pretty cool. That's going to make me biased towards Keras, right? So look, if you want to use PyTorch, go for it. It just means that your parents are divorced and all that, but just use whatever you want. The Jellyaba says, also, I don't think one who does not understand linear model should be using advanced methods such as LLM and others. I don't think one who does not understand linear models should be using advanced methods such as LLM. Yeah. I think it's really important for you to have a foundation in linear models. Or for those of you who might be familiar with other terms, that's what people also call the classical or the traditional approaches to data science. But again, we shouldn't have those biases, right? Because when you hear traditional and classical, people tend to say, oh, that's the old way of doing data science. Oh, that's the old way. There is no old way. If that's the better model, then that's what you should be using, right? But I agree with you, generally, the Jellyaba, where you want to make sure that you have a foundational skill in that, right? Or, if I think about the class that I ran this past Sunday, again, we're doing a class on this book. I'm doing a live stream class on this book, and we did regression methods, right? And one of the things that I stress about regression methods is y equals mx plus b, right? You should ingrain that formula into your mind, because what is it? It means that your result is a mixture of some base value, your intercept, and what is the factor that I'm using, and what weight am I assigning to that factor, right? That combination right there is like 99% of data science. What is the factor you want to consider? How much weight do you want to give to it? Like, that is a lot of data science. So if you don't understand that and you haven't seen that in regression methods, you're not going to understand how that relates to other things that you're going to build in the future, right? So yeah, you want to have that foundation to understand, kind of like the core of what is data science. What do the formulas really mean, right? Because a lot of it really just comes down to that. What are the potential factors you can consider for your decision, and how much weight do you want to assign to them? And that's it. That's like a lot of data science. Praveen says, "Good morning, Dennis." Good morning to you too, Praveen. I think you've been a supporter of the streams before, so good to see you here again, my friend. Hope you're well. Jeremiah says, I think you went through what real life scenarios we could do during the third. Yes, Jeremiah. Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Jeremiah is absolutely right. This relates back to the people who are asking about project ideas. Like I said, I get this question a lot. So July 3rd, I did run a class where I walked you through an example of finding a study, using their data, and coming up with your own ideas based on that data. So Jeremiah, thank you so much for that reminder. I did, and that's exactly right. I gave an example where I walked people through it. And I said, hey, you guys are asking me for project ideas. Here's how you go out and find your own project. And I stressed that, please don't just copy what I did, right? That's not being a scientist. What's being a scientist is understanding the framework and then going out and doing similar work on your own, right? So, yeah. So if you want to do that, go to my YouTube channel, Data Science with Dennis, look in the archives, and you're going to see it from July 3rd. It says July 3rd in the thumbnail, so it should be easy for you to find. But yeah, if you want to check out my live section on my YouTube, that's where you're going to find all my classes. I refuse to do pre-recorded instructional data science content. That is super boring for me to do, and I don't do things that don't make me happy, right? So I will never do that. I will always do them as live courses. So if you're curious about things that I've taught in the past, go to the live section or the live archives or whatever it's called on my YouTube, and you'll find it there. And yes, Jeremiah is right. It was the July 3rd class. In fact, it was the first time I ran a live class, and because I'm just kind of experimenting, seeing how it would go. But yeah, you can find it there. So thank you so much, Jeremiah, for that reminder. The Jellyyaba just puts in a laughing emoji and haha. I will assume that you were laughing at my PyTorch jabs. I'll just assume that you were laughing at PyTorch. Everyone should laugh at PyTorch. Sanku Diaries. Sanku, I think you're reposting this. I think I might have missed it earlier. But thanks for reminding me here. So Sanku says, I'm a neuroscientist working with brain MRI data. I want to be a data scientist. Would you hire anyone from academia to work as a data scientist in the industry? Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, you could also be working for like bio-oriented firms, right? You like bioinformatics is a huge field, right? You could definitely be doing some work in bioinformatics. So you could be looking at that, right? Yeah. So I would definitely be opening to hiring somebody, assuming that, you could show me that you've mastered the theories and show me some projects in data science. But yeah, I'd be willing to hire somebody for that. Sure. So kudos to you for the pre-recording days. A lot about the pre-recording says a lot about your character with 2 people running in or more. Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to. For the pre-recording says a lot about your character with 2 people running in. Sorry, could you provide some clarification there? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by that, okay? But yeah, guys, I think I've hit just about all of the questions that have come through. As I said before, I'm managing from different platforms. So I have a piece of software on my screen that lets me see all of the different chats and highlight the different chats. So I try to get to as many people as possible. I think I got to everyone. Okay, I think you're saying for 2 people joining in or more? With 2 people joining. For the pre-recording days, a lot of 2 people joining. Sorry, the Jellyyaba, I'm still a little lost on your comments. I know that it's not always easy to type on a phone on Instagram. So if it's more convenient for you guys, you can always join on YouTube, where maybe you can join from a desktop or whatnot. But yeah, but as a final reminder, guys. Okay, so Jeremiah says I'll be heading off. Your next live stream is Sunday night. See you on Sunday. No, Jeremiah, I stream every day, so feel free to join as much as you can. But my next class is on a Sunday. So for those of you guys that are interested in that class, we are going over this book. Right now we are on chapter 4. We're going to be doing classification methods. I was just working on those materials the other day. But yeah, Sunday, if you want to come join, or you can watch the replay on YouTube. Okay? But I appreciate the time we spent together. I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here. It's good to see that Asia is alive and well, and this is a good time for my followers in Asia. I think I'll do this in the future. This has been fun, guys. Really appreciate the participation. I can't promise that I'm going to be doing it every day because I still run the morning stream, so maybe I'll alternate between mornings and evenings. I'll figure some schedule out, but this has been a great test. You know, this has been a great test to see if there is an audience, and clearly there is. So I really enjoyed the conversation, appreciate the fellowship. Please take care of yourselves, take care of your families. I hope you're well, and we'll see you next time.